This one and this one, we just talked about in the soft B class. We'll talk about these again next quarter, so this is just a little introduction for us.
Yeah.
That's the stomach, that's air under the diaphragm, you see that? You see how thin the diaphragm is?
Mm-hmm.
You remember from dissection, the anatomy, the diaphragm's a very thin structure, isn't it? It's not a big, thick T-bone steak muscle, it's really thin. It's really thin. There's a great example of it. How come it looks so thick over here? Because this patient has a pleural effusion, hydrothorax, but small. But it's accumulating in an atypical way. Pleural effusion, in most people, gravity pulls it to the bottom, and it starts puddling in the costophrenic angles. In this individual, the fluid is accumulating over the diaphragm, and it's lifting the lung base symmetrically off the diaphragm. So it looks like an elevated hemidiaphragm, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When it's actually a pleural effusion. And the only way we know that actually in this individual, because they have pneumoperitoneum also. Because this is liver, abdominal air, diaphragm, which would be the same thickness as this one. So from about here to here is a pleural effusion. And notice it still looks like a costophrenic angle, doesn't it? Because it just symmetrically lifts the lung base up off the diaphragm. Why people do that, we don't know. Why do some people, their pleural fluid behaves like this is a mystery. I don't have an answer. I don't know. But we just know it does. It's an unusual way, but it's an atypical effusion. Because atypical pleural effusions look like this or this. Typical ones, like that, that's going to be a typical effusion. Because it just would have started in the bottom and it just starts working its way up to the top and it just compresses the lung as it goes. This one just kind of lifts it up off. If they didn't have this, we wouldn't even be concerned about the diaphragm level in this, because it's not a big enough difference. You got 2 or 3 centimeters. We wouldn't even know that this patient had a pleural effusion without having the pneumoperitoneum. That's a bullet, so they probably got a belly wound somewhere. Now here's another.